Hello, everyone, and welcome to the live magic Q&A tea party that's held here on Zoom every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It happens everywhere, all over the world, no matter what time zone you're in, you can tune in. It might be 2 a.m. where you are. I can't, promise you it's going to be at a decent hour, but you can tune in and join us here on Zoom, asking your questions about magic, law of attraction, spirituality, divination, tarot, you name it. We probably got, between my guest and myself, we probably got an answer for you. This takes place every Sunday except for the first Sunday of the month. And the first Sunday of the month, I have a paid workshop. This coming Sunday, March 7th, is going to be easy spells with spiritual oils. I'm going to teach you guys. That's what I was working on all day today, was that PowerPoint for that class. And I'm going to be teaching you 12 different ways to work with oils magically. Plus, I'm going to be teaching you how to create your own spiritual oils from scratch. I'm going to break it down for you so that you can make your own spiritual oils. It's going to be a phenomenal workshop. And I have a feeling, because we've already sold a lot of tickets, that it may sell out. There is a limited number of people who can come. So if you want to come to that workshop next Sunday, it's at the same time, go to witchcraftworkshops.com and you can join me and we can learn about making oils and using oils and spells. Oh, it's going to be amazing. So I hope you'll join me for that. Now, let's see, what else do I have to say? If you don't know who I am, I'm Madame Pamita. I'm the host of the show. You can find me at my shop, parlorofwonders.com. You can also find me on YouTube and Instagram, where I'm pretty active over there, by looking up Madame Pamita, and you'll find me. Where else? Well, you can find me on my website. You can find me, I have blogs all over the place. I have this and that all over the place. You'll probably, if you just search Madame Pamita, you'll find a bunch of stuff where you can connect with me. Every week we have amazing guests. And this week, our guest is the Love Witch NYC, which I have been so looking forward to our session, because the Love Witch is someone who I adore. I feel like we've had a past life together. We were talking about that earlier. And she's someone who has an amazing repertoire of spiritual knowledge, is a very loving soul. So the Love Witch is really a good moniker for you. And she has amazing information to share with you guys, and we're going to have an amazing time together. So grab yourself a cup of tea like we do. We grab yourself, or water, or a bottle of water, no judging, right? Or grab yourself a cocktail. There's really no judging here. Maybe a joint, I don't know, do whatever, but have a good time. Come join us, ask your questions, put them into chat, and we're going to go ahead and answer those questions as we go along. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce my guest. My guest is the Love Witch NYC, who is an author, a clairsentient, a master manifester, and a professional witch living a life of leisure in New York City. That's not easy to do in New York City. Everyone's hustle bustle there. Currently, you can chat one-on-one with TheLoveWitchNYC.com. So you go to TheLoveWitchNYC.com. You can get spell work advice, coaching, manifestation tools, and practical solutions for living a more magical daily life. Love Witch, I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. This is such a dream come true.
Oh my gosh. Well, we have known each other for a few years now. We met when I came over to Catland a long time ago. I think that's when we met. And we've been dear friends ever since. And just, I always love when I see you. You often come in here and are in the clubhouse offering your wisdom. And we see each other at every little event here and there and everywhere. And we have a great time together. So I'm so glad we get to have this chance to share this wonderful hour together where we answer people's questions about magic. So I want to ask you some questions, because these are the things, as I was thinking about our time together, that I'm curious about, that I've never had the chance to ask you before. But the first thing I wanted to ask you is how you got started in witchcraft and magic.
Sure. I've always been really, really curious about magic from a super young age, and also really curious about meditation and about manifestation. And right after college, or right after I started and then promptly stopped college, I discovered yoga and meditation, and it really brought me out of a super dark time in my life. And through that, I started to learn more about manifestation, the law of attraction. And I've kind of come in and out of it a lot throughout my life. And I've found that it's really, really powerful when you're in line in a lot of different ways, like when you're eating healthy and, having healthy practices. And when you're not being so healthy, manifesting isn't so easy. But when you're taking everything into account and really living a full lifestyle devoted to magic and manifesting, it comes so easily. So I've been doing that since I've been in New York City. Before here, I was living in Nashville, and I wrote a book about a phone psychic, and that was kind of how I got my start into professional services. I started doing a little bit of research that way, and then kind of accidentally manifested it from there. So,
oh my gosh, I just love that. One of the things that you just brought up that I think we talked about somewhere, somehow, I don't know if it was at the Q&A or workshop or something, we were talking about living a magical life. Like I always used to say, your life is your art, and your life is your magic is also something. Your life can be a magical life. So magic can be something that you just do, like you're doing your regular life and then you do your magic. That is certainly a way to live a life and experience magic. Some people do, and they probably are, that's what's comfortable for them or good for them. But I think of living a magical life where you incorporate, or you think of it as I said my cats weren't here. They snuck in. Somebody opened the door and let a kitty cat in. 2 of them. Oh my goodness. But I think about living a magical life and having that be like the lens that you look at your experiences through. It's living a spiritual life or living a magical life. Then you start to think about things in that way. I think and it's always a process, by the way. As another thing that you brought up that I think is so important that people understand or hear is that, a magical or spiritual practice, it's not like you reach a destination and then you're done. I'm perfect. I'm done. I'm the best witch. I know all. We always have a journey. So if your goal is to get to a destination, you're going to always be disappointed because there's always going to be something more to learn. And it can be you can get very self-judgmental about it. Mm-hmm. But I think about that idea that you are constantly learning, constantly growing, constantly discovering new things, and always perfecting. Like, it's kind of like what you're saying about like diet and lifestyle that don't seem very magical, but it's like, if you're doing this one thing, it's where everything is connected. So doing this one thing over here is going to affect positively or negatively this thing over here. Right? Have you found that to be so?
Absolutely. And, it is a process, and you can try diving in too quickly and get really overwhelmed and really discouraged. Lately I've been working a lot with planetary hours, which you introduced me to, and those could be super confusing. And it's definitely something I probably wasn't ready for a couple of years ago. Because, at some points, even with tarot, my relationship has kind of soured with it because I'll think, oh, I need to use this for every decision. I need to totally rely on this tool. And really, instead of relying on it, I need to work with it. I used to try and trick the universe, and that was the totally wrong approach. I need to work with the universe to create exactly what's perfect for me, even if I don't realize exactly what it is I'm working toward in the beginning. But so like with planetary hours now, I can take them into account, and I can think, oh, okay, it would be better to save this thing until later on today when the planets are more in line with that kind of work. Or it could be fine to do it now. But a couple of years ago, if I had tried to do that, I'd be like, okay, I can't answer the phone until 3:04 p.m. It's bad luck.
Oh,
so
yeah,
you can't get overwhelmed by it or let it control you. You have to co-create with it.
Yeah, it's interesting too. You bring up that perfectionism notion, which I try and really disabuse people of that notion, because they can be doing their magic and thinking like, oh, I did one little thing the wrong way, and now my magic is ruined. I think you have to really do quite a bit off the chart to not have. Now, we do say like these things will support your work, and if you don't do those things, you won't have as much support for your work. So, I mean, if you want to use a rose for a cursing spell, you're not going to get as good a result as if you use a rose for a love spell, right? So, I mean, I'm really something simple, but that idea that, you can try anything and experiment. And that's the whole idea of having a grimoire or a book of shadows or a notebook where you write down your spell work and you see how the result was. So I used a black candle for a protection spell and that worked great. And I used a green candle for a protection spell and it maybe was better or worse or whatever. So you get to find out that stuff by doing the experiments. So really approaching spell work in that way where you're curious and open. And then, like you said, like you may not, like sometimes, I mean, honestly, the whole thing with Mercury retrograde, I'm an old broad and I'm old enough to know and remember when people were like, oh yeah, there's a Mercury retrograde. Oh, just make sure your your computer's backed up. That was as far as we really went with it. But since the internet and because of people sharing and sharing and sharing, which is lovely, there's also sometimes really I would call very heightened, anxious information that sometimes is shared because I don't know, because people like drama, I guess, you know? And so there's this thing with Mercury retrograde where it's like, you should just hide under a rock and not do anything. The whole Mercury retrograde. Well, you know, folks, I don't know about you, but I got a business to run and I got things to do. And so, yes, I keep in mind, well, I'm going to have to be patient or things are going to take longer or that sort of thing, and give myself a little cushion with it, things, and maybe have an understanding or peace about it when it does happen. But it's not like the sky is falling and we should all be Chicken Little about these things. So the same thing that you were saying, you weren't ready to learn about planetary hours because you would be too afraid of doing something at the wrong planetary hour. Now, you know, it's just a tool that you can add and you can bring it to your thing. And if you don't want to work with planetary hours, you don't work with planetary hours. It's fine. There's plenty of other timing things. We learned about this I think it was the advanced candle magic. We talked about this advanced timing of spell work. So yeah, so there's all kinds of things that you can bring in. So just because you don't have the right thing, or just because you can't do that thing when it's ideal, doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Do a candle spell when you need it. Don't wait a month. If you need your rent tomorrow, don't do your candle spell in a month when the timing is perfect. Do it now, you know, so that you get your rent money. So that's the kind of thing I try to encourage people to feel like that there isn't this rigidness to magic. It's pulling in things that support, but there's lots of places you can pull in things to support, right?
And I think really the only guaranteed way to sabotage something is your mindset being off. So if you have all the belief in the world that rose is going to work in your curse, then it's going to work. But if you convince yourself that it's not, it probably won't. So, and it's really as simple as that with everything.
Well, I think it's like, you know, there's things that I do think that there are things that work better. Like I always take this analogy. It's like, if you want a guard dog, and you go to the animal shelter and you get a totally adorable Chihuahua, it's a dog, but it's not a guard dog. So you either make your peace that it's not a guard dog and you love that little Chihuahua, or you get the pit bull that you really wanted, which is what you really wanted. So I think that there are things that are tried and true herbs, you know, and flowers and roots and things like that, that we have seen throughout history as being used. And those things, you have a lot of people having experience in using those for that thing. So it doesn't mean it's the only thing that'll do that thing. It doesn't mean it can't be used for something else. But I mean, we'll find like rosemary, for example, in a lot of different traditions being used for a lot of different kinds of workings. So you might have over here, it's a beauty spell. You might have over here, it's a love spell. You might have over here, it's a protection spell, or used in a protection spell. And that's fine, you know, but I think that you have a history of experience of someone using that for that thing. That being said, every plant is magical. Every stone is magical. Every thing out there is a substrate for magic. It just is either waiting to be discovered what its specialty is, or we know what its specialty is and you can use it in the way that aligns with, oh, you know, I like using rosemary for love spells, or someone else says, I like using rosemary for protection spells. That's totally fine because there's history of people using it for those things going back. It doesn't mean you can't use it for a curse. If you want to use it, I'm sure there's someone that uses rosemary for a curse. Rosemary is like that universal that can be used for anything. But there might even be some history of that being used for a curse. But if you're doing this thing, that's why the research and looking things up, if you don't know, so that you can see what other people have used, you aren't, let's say, you'll have to do that, but it's a good serving suggestion, you know, when you don't know. Just like you need a recipe book when you're doing a recipe. I don't know how to do Italian cooking. I need a recipe book so I know how to do Italian cooking, because otherwise the dinner wouldn't be so great. And I want the dinner to be good. So yeah.
Weed out some of the trial and error.
Yeah. So now what are you doing right now? Because I know you just started opening up readings again. Excuse me, I'm gonna cough. Excuse me. You just started opening up readings again, right?
Yeah. So I'm doing readings all online. I'm still being super cautious here in New York City. It was so scary at like the height of COVID, and I don't want to take any risks. So if you want to see me in person, you'll have to wait a few more years probably. But now I'm doing written and video readings, but I'm doing them pre-recorded, and I take about a week on them. So instead of, you know, just giving quick answers, which I could do, I've found that I always think about other things right after it's over, and I'll think about it days later, or I'll come across something that was really relevant to a reading. So by really sitting with the 3 cards that I pulled for someone for a few days and looking into their personal astrology, and also just taking into account like as many factors as I can get a really detailed read on stuff. So I'm really excited to be doing that. And all the details of that are on TheLoveWitchNYC.com. I'm also chatting on psychics1on1.com, which is a cool new site that I've found. So it's like pay per message, but I can give a full reading or spell work advice or whatever you like in the one message. And then if you have more questions, we can keep going from there. But I'm really trying to use that as a way to just give people really quick, really detailed answers to questions about magic.
I love that. I love that. I love that idea of having that time, because sometimes, you know, sometimes people do have those questions where they need to know right now. They have to make a decision, you know, for a job, whether they take the job or not tomorrow, and they have to know, or something like that. That definitely is something that will come up in a reading. But other times you may want to know just what's up ahead, or maybe something a little more slower and thoughtful. Like you want to know, you know, I have this pattern I keep repeating, and what is that about? Or, you know, I want to know about my relationship. The relationship is good, but you want to know about the relationship, or something that feels a little more, it can have that breathing room. And I get you when you say that you've had those thoughts after. It's like, oh, that, you know, that is what it meant. Or you even see things or get omens and messages out in the world that relate back to that person, and you want to share it with that person. So having that little bit of a slower time, a little bit of a more methodical reading, and a beautiful, by the way, to have that document where they can go back and look at it. It isn't just that ephemeral thing where we, you know, you have the reading one-on-one and then, you know, they don't remember it, or I love that idea that they can go back and look at their email and read what, oh yeah, that's what she said about that thing that was coming up. And that's, oh yeah, that makes sense now. You can go back to it, which is such a lovely, lovely thing. So I think that's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. And it's a lot of fun too to just like really take time to research each card. And like, you know, I know the meanings of the cards, but there's an endless amount of information on every single card. So I can really read about, you know, origins of the card that may relate to this question, or older versions of the card that may somehow have extra information stored that I'm not just seeing on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck.
Oh my gosh.
So
Yeah.
there's just like so much opportunity for expanding my knowledge, and also expanding people's experience with the information from the tarot.
Oh, so good. That's so good. And another thing that they need to know is that this written reading is really going to be a beautiful thing, because you are an author and a writer. Look at this. These 2 books were written by the Love Witch NYC, and they are amazing books. They're quick reads. You can read them in an hour or 2, and just gorgeous stories, magical stories that bring in the tarot. And oh, I just love it. I love it. So what was the story on these books when you were writing these books?
Wow, those feel like 3 or 4 lifetimes ago, to be honest with you. I was thinking about those books the other day and realizing I remember writing a couple of paragraphs from them. It's all, and really for me, I feel emotional just even speaking about this, but writing is always kind of a process in channeling. So I don't sit down knowing what I'm going to write or with a plan. And, you know, that's not really good for writing a novel or for writing something long form. But it always works out. And with those, maybe you can tell I didn't know where I was going. I don't know. I haven't read them in a while, but they really helped me through some really difficult times and really helped me realize what life I wanted to be living. And also helped me realize like the lives I didn't want to live. So I explore some of both of those through the characters in those, but writing for me has helped me figure out so many things. So those books really just helped me get to know myself more. And
I was going to say, if you want to know how clever she is, look at this. Olive has, the book called Olive has a picture of the Fool card on it, and the Fool has a picture of olives on it. I love you. That delights me for some reason. I love that little sly humor that's in there and that whole thing. Oh, I just love it. Anyway, yes, you were saying.
They're companion novellas, so they can be read together or independently. The stories intertwine, but they both stand alone as well. So I hope people will enjoy them, check them out. They're on Amazon, or probably other places too. I don't know, look in used bookstores, maybe they pop up places.
Do you, and you are going to give away a book today as a giveaway today, right?
Yeah. If people want to enter a giveaway, I will mail a book out to them tomorrow. I don't know which one I'm going to mail, whichever one I find in my room quicker. It'll be a surprise when it gets to you.
Okay, so we're going to do it as we always do. What's your favorite emoji? And then we'll have people put that word or that emoji in the chat.
People don't have this emoji readily available. They could pick another one, but my most used emoji is the shrimp emoji, which is really funny because I'm vegan, so I don't eat shrimp, but I do use that emoji a lot.
So if they can't find the shrimp emoji, they can write the word shrimp.
Well.
They can write the word shrimp. I love that. That's amazing. So either the word shrimp or shrimp emoji, go ahead and put that in the chat, and then you will be in the drawing to win a free book. That is so exciting. Also, you're going to have a special offer for people, and I'm going to have a special offer at the end. Do you want to give it at the end? Let's give our special offers together then. Let's do that. All right. So let's open up and look at some questions, and we'll get to some questions if you're ready for it. You ready?
I'm so ready.
I know, you were born ready.
Everyone has a shellfish allergy because it's dangerous.
Yeah, no shrimp. All right. So Nina says, asks the question, what is a great spell to do for a class in school that you have anxiety in, or class that creates anxiety? So like a calming spell, focus spell, success spell. What would you recommend to somebody who's having some issues in school about anxiety?
For me, I feel like in that type of situation, something that I really like to use is a mantra that you could say silently or out loud. So in the morning, you could wake up and repeat into the mirror a magical number of times, whichever number resonates with you. I am acing this class, or I'm so glad that this class is so easy. Picking something that's really 100% pure positivity. And then whenever you feel those thoughts of anxiety sneaking in, be it in the class or in the car on the way there, you can just remind yourself of that mantra and remind yourself, hey, these feelings don't line up with what I'm telling myself. So I'm going to stop feeling them. And I'm just going to keep repeating my mantra to myself. Another thing you could do is write that down on a piece of paper and tuck it into your wallet. Put your wallet in your pocket and sit down on your wallet, knowing that that's like, you're based in that thought.
So good. That's so good. I was thinking too, it's like, maybe because I'm working on the oils workshop, I'm thinking of oils, but, oftentimes I recommend to people who are studying that they work with an oil, so that they find an oil to work with during that time that they're in class, because the scent will take you back. Now, like if you're studying for a test, while you're studying, you can use the oil. And then when you take the test, you can use that oil again. So you wouldn't use it in between time, just when you're studying the information, and then when you're taking the test. So if it's test taking, that's the issue that's creating the anxiety, that can help with that. But if it's just general anxiety, then maybe you find an oil that you like to work with, whether it's a magical oil or perfume or something that has a scent. I mean, I love a magical oil because it brings in those herbs that are supportive of what our intention is. But you could use like a peace and tranquility oil, use it in the bath or something where you're really, really relaxed, and then only use it again when you're in class, so that it takes you back to that bath experience where you were super relaxed. So if it's just general anxiety, you can use it that way. Or if it's the test taking anxiety, you can use it while you're studying and then bring it back when you take the test. And I think that can be a really super easy way. You can blend these two things together. You can say the affirmation while you're working with the oil, which always empowers an oil. When you say an affirmation, that's a really fantastic way to work. You can do that as well. So you can pick and choose whichever one works for you, or bring them both together and do it that way. Which would be
You could also use a sachet powder instead. You could put the sachet powder on the pen that you're going to use in the test. Same for the oil. So there's a lot of different ways that you could have a little reminder of that magical work you've been doing just snuck into your backpack.
Yeah, yeah. You are a big fan of sachet powders, I know, because I see your orders. The sachet powders are really great. And especially if you're working with paper, or you're working, maybe you want something drier. You don't want, maybe if you have oily skin and you don't want to put more oil on oily skin, you can use a sachet powder on your skin. It's made with cornstarch base, so it's completely safe. There's no talc, there's nothing dangerous or anything like that. It has herbs, it has the essential oils, and it has that cornstarch base. So it's very, very safe. You can use it on yourself. You can use it on the objects around you. You can use, powder yourself after your bath, or do something like that. When you're really relaxed, that's the time to do that work. If you want to bring that relaxation, that memory, and that sense memory, because your sense of smell is your oldest and strongest memory connection. So you know how, like, for me, there's like a certain smell, like I can smell my grammar school cafeteria, or I can smell that smells like my grandmother's house, or, those scents. We can go back decades and remember a scent from decades ago when we smell something, or someone's cologne, or someone's perfume, good or bad, that we could go like, oh my gosh, that reminds me of that person. I have my obsession, I love perfume. And I have, when I was in the 80s, I was a teenager in the 80s, which was so much fun. And I used to wear opium, which is such a really pungent, powerful 80s big shoulder pad perfume, right? And I found my dear, dear friend gave me a bottle of original 80s opium, because the new one doesn't smell like it. Doesn't smell the same. And I got a bottle of the new one. I'm like, this is not the same. And then I did my research and I found out it wasn't the same. Well, she got me a bottle from the 80s, and it's just like, takes me back to when I was young and going out to clubs and being a goth girl and, doing my, so it's that beautiful thing about the power of scent. So you can create associations with scents and do something using a scent, and then bring that energy in, which is such a beautiful, that is a scientific thing. That's not even a magical thing, but there is a magical element, as we were saying.
Time
everything
travel.
connects, right? Yeah. Time travel, exactly. Oh my gosh, my opium does. I sometimes spray it on my pillows, and then I smell it at night when I'm sleeping, and to have dreams about going to nightclubs. Since we can't do it in real life now.
2020 and 2021.
I know, the perfect thing, huh? I always check myself. Like some people only wear perfume or oils. I mean, I wear my oils too, but my oils are more like my practical thing. Like, this is what I want today. I'm not thinking about it as a scent, although I think my two favorite are Powerful Protection and Queen Elizabeth. Those are my two favorite scents. But when I wear my perfume, it's like I treat myself. I don't care if anyone else smells me. I get to smell me. And that's what I love about my perfume. I have a whole perfume collection, so we've got some folks from New York here. Yay. Coming to see the Love Witch NYC. Yay. It's awesome. And everyone's saying, welcome. And your cute kitty. They're saying you're cute. Oh, they're saying your kitty's so cute. All right. We have a question that's a Slavic magic question. So we can talk about this. I'm going to take it, but then we'll talk about something related to it. So Beth F has a question. I'm drawn to getting a Motonka doll. Can you give me ideas of how to use it and care for it? So a Motonka doll is a very unique Ukrainian magic thing. And it's a doll that you make that has no face on it. It's a rag doll that you make by rolling the cloth. You can buy Motonka dolls, but you can also make your own. There's ways to make your own. You can do a little research online probably and find a way to make it. but there's people that sell these beautiful Motonka dolls. They don't have a face. Some of them have threads that are in like a cross pattern across the face, but there's never any eyes or nose or mouth or anything that resembles features on the face. So the Motonka doll is the ancestor connection. So we use the Motonka doll as a connection to our ancestors, and it's like the house of your ancestors. It isn't your ancestors, but it's like an ancestor altar that you can take with you. You can use magically, you can carry with you, you can put it up on your ancestor altar, but it's to house your ancestors. So it's a different kind of doll magic than any other doll magic that I am aware of. I don't know of any other magic that uses a doll as an ancestor, but it kind of reminds me. Do you watch What We Do in the Shadows? Did you ever watch What We Do? Oh my gosh, it's a great show. Fun, hilarious, funny comedy show about vampires. Very funny though. Anyway, she has a doll that, I won't do a spoiler, but the doll comes to life. So that reminds me of like that Motonka doll, that there's a spirit in that doll, and that doll, should be respected and cared for. And the only way that you can dispose of a Motonka doll is to burn it. And it's like burning down the house so that there's no connection there. But it's always done with a sense of protection. It's a doll of protection. Or we can also use it for, if you have a disease, the doll will take on the disease, and that's when you burn the doll. So if you have a child who's sick, you make them a Motonka and you give them the doll to take the disease out of them. The ancestors making that sacrifice or pulling that out of them. So this is something that my grandmother did for my mother. My mother was a little child. She was very ill. She made her a little doll. And then that was to get her to get better. And of course, my mom lived long enough to have me and lived into her old age. So that's how we work with Motonka dolls. So there's a lot of puppet magic and doll magic. And if I have a great book actually in my shop called Puppet Magic, that it's all about the different doll magic all over in all cultures, and talks about quote unquote voodoo dolls, puppets, working with dolls. This is very, very, very old magic, like going back to Paleolithic times. They find little figurines that they were used magically. We're almost certain that there were cloth dolls as well, but the cloth doesn't survive 10,000 years, but a clay piece will survive that length of time. So we have evidence. There's a little bit of evidence that there was cloth dolls, but certainly doll magic has been around since before written language, before there were, when we were still living in caves and mammoth bone houses and whatever. So yeah. Do you do any doll magic at all?
I don't, but I have read a lot about it, and I find it very interesting. So yeah. I'm into it.
Yeah, it's a way of doing sympathetic magic where most doll magic is sympathetic magic, where you make a doll, just like they show in cheesy movies, like there's a voodoo doll and it's like, I'm making this about my ex, poke, poke, poke with pins, I hope my ex, dies or whatever, right? So that's like a very one-sided, very Hollywood version of what a puppet is. But puppets can be used for many, many things, not just for harming people. They can be used for healing. They can be used for love spells. They can be used for, it's definitely, you can use, actually, I was gonna say it's coercive magic, but you can use them non-coercively actually. So if you have like a loved one who's far away from you and you want to do, let's say, a cleanse on them, but you don't have access to do the physical cleanse on them, then you can make a little puppet, and it doesn't have to be coercive. You could say, I could say, Love Witch, I want, I know that you are, you have a headache right now, and I'm going to do a spell. So I'm going to make a little puppet and work on your headache to get rid of your headache. So
days ago.
What?
I was put on that 2 days ago.
I must have sensed it. So you could work on somebody even in a non-coercive way, but we usually think of that magic being sort of sneaky magic, or magic that you're doing, on the down low that nobody knows about. That's generally how people do it. But you could, people have sometimes said, can you do puppet magic on yourself? Well, you actually have your body to work on, but maybe there's something that you can't work on physically for some reason. Like there may be a reason. Sometimes people they want to do like a really thorough cleanse, and they want, maybe they don't have a bathtub, for example. Well, you can take a beeswax either modeling beeswax, or you can take a beeswax candle and you can use that as your poppet and clear and cleanse it and do a bath on it. So there's lots of things that you can do. And there's lots of cloth ones, there's stick ones, I've got lots of videos up and showing you how to do different kinds of beeswax ones. Beeswax ones are my favorite because you can mold it and you can add herbs and personal concerns to it. You can dress them. They're a little more personalized, and you can also put them in water. So if you want to put oils on them or water on them, you can't do that with a cloth one or a stick one. You're going to have a kind of a gross mess if you do that. So yeah. But anyway, a Motonka is a very special Ukrainian magical doll. And there may be some other Slavic countries that have similar things, but really in Ukraine, that's what it's known for. Like, you know, we think of those Russian nesting dolls as being a Ukrainian thing. They're really Russian. They were only invented 100 years ago, and they were a copy of something that was being done in Japan.
Oh, wow.
So those are very, very recent, but a Motonka goes back millennia, really goes back a long, long way. So that's a different older doll, and it's a Ukrainian thing. So yeah. All right. So oh, Simone said fans of the Love Witch here in Brooklyn. You've got lots of fans. Well, you probably already have fans here from, you know, working in the room too. All right, and answering questions. I know you answer a question once in a while. So Vicky says, what color of candle works best for blockbuster work, blockbuster oil or blockbuster sachet? And when applying a blockbuster oil, should it be upward or downward motion? Thank you and love your candle magic book. So what do you, when you think about doing blockbuster work, maybe you want to explain to people what your impression of blockbuster work is first, I guess.
Yeah, so for blockbuster is about breaking through things. And with blockbuster, it can be really an explosive breakthrough even. I would always work with the color orange for that personally. I work with the color orange all the time anyhow. It's maybe my favorite color, and it's all about success and getting what you want. So I think it has the perfect energy for blockbuster. And I think the great thing about color magic, and the great thing about your book on candle magic, which has so much great color magic information.
Oops. I don't know if I froze or you're froze. I'm not hearing you. Are you hearing me? No. Well, I'll talk and we'll see if it's me that's frozen or you that's frozen. I don't know. Anyway, back to that concept of orange, when you were talking about orange, one of the things I love in talking about color magic is the combination of colors. I don't know if you guys can hear me because everything is frozen. Oh, shoot. Can you hear me still? You guys? Let me see if there's a yes at the bottom. Okay, great. Okay. So the thing about color magic, the Love Witch will come back. Great. Thanks, you guys. So the thing about color magic, yay, you're back. Yay. So you were saying about, you got cut off when you said the thing about color magic.
It doesn't have to stop with the candle. Like you can keep going. So you could use an orange lighter to light that candle. You could wear orange the week that you're doing that spell. You could paint your ceiling orange. Like there is no stopping with what you can apply color magic to.
I'm a big fan of color magic. I did a whole podcast episode about color magic because I love color magic. You know, it's such an easy thing to integrate into your magical practice. Pretty easy, you know?
Yeah, it's great too, even for, you know, coercive magic. Like I had a client a while back who was really concerned with her brother finding love. And I said, get him to wear red. And she was like, he hates red. I was like, okay, so get him to wear red socks or red underwear. Like other people don't have to see it, but start gifting him red things and you can sneakily get that in there.
Oh, it's so brilliant. I love that. I love that. Yeah, that idea that you can dress yourself in a certain color, or you can wear a certain color, you can dye your hair a certain color, as you and I will testify to. You can bring in that energy of color and choose to turn it on or turn it off. It doesn't have to be like every outfit you pick for the day. I talk about the different ways that you can, in that Color Magic podcast, of like, you can either say, I feel like wearing this today. And what is that color? And what am I going to focus on for this day? Use it almost like you would pick a card for the day. Or you can go, I want to manifest this certain thing today. So I'm going to wear that color. So either choose it intuitively or whatever you're sensing or feeling, or used it in that way of projectively, like I'm going to wear green today because I'm going to make money today, or whatever that intention is. I was going to say another thing about the color orange. You know, when you start to break down color magic, you can start to look at the components. So as a person who likes to paint, who's been a painter as one of my things that I've done in my life, I look really carefully at colors, and I love playing with colors. And when you look at how the components, I mean, everybody learns in elementary school, kindergarten, right? You put blue and yellow together, you get green. Well, you put, you know, when we talk about orange, you're putting red and yellow together to make orange. So you almost have this triangle of, yes, you have that orange, which is about blockbuster, but you're also bringing in that fire and that passion of the red and the success energy of the yellow together. Wow, what a combination. No wonder orange is the color of breakthroughs, because it's about fire, passion, and will. And it's also about that optimism and success and money energy and all of that abundant energy. And you bring those two together and you get orange. So you've got a lot of dimensions when you're doing color magic to look at. The other question you had in your question was what about blockbuster oil being up or down? It depends on your mindset. So it's one of those oils, like I always think there's a couple of oils, road opener being one, blockbuster being one, release and restore being another one, that you could go either way, right? So it's like with blockbuster, are you removing the blocks? Then it goes down. Are you opening up the opportunities? Then it goes up. So it's kind of really dependent on what your spell is. Is your spell to get rid of something, or is your spell to bring in something? So if you're removing the blocks to bring in more opportunities, then that's an upward energy, in my opinion. Someone else may have a different opinion. If you're just like, ugh, I want this stuff out of my way, then yes, it's a downward energy. So that's what I would do on that. Do you have anything you want to say about that?
You can do downward motion on one candle, upward on another candle, and burn them at the same time. That way you've got both your bases covered. And also, like, one more great thing I wanted to add about color magic is once you're working with that color or any other color, in the days following your spell, you can start looking for that all over the place. And every time you see it, that's an affirmation from the universe that you're on the right track. So it's like such an easy thing you can spot. Like, colors are so easy to look for. And just having that awareness and being on the lookout for those things, you're going to start spotting other signs and start noticing other things that channel that same energy.
Gosh, so good. Yeah. And I think about things like how you can bring, I mean, there's so many ways you can bring color into your life, just like the clothing. You could have flowers in your house that are of a certain color. You could, I mean, you can decorate your house in certain colors to bring in certain energies. I mean, you can think about those things. When I had my old shop in Santa Monica many years ago, I painted my door green because I wanted it to be abundant, and I painted the door green because I wanted that abundant energy. You know, so you can think about the things that you want and bringing in color in your magic. And that's another way to talk about living a magical life, is like just having that awareness and paying attention to the colors around you and how you can utilize those colors magically. And that just color alone can be magic, which is amazing. We have another color question. Tamika says, I was told that the color blue is beneficial when doing love work because it represents emotion. What is your take on this? What do you think about that?
I think that's great. I think definitely work with blue when working with love magic. I think about blue as being a color that's associated with healing for me. So that would be really great if you have some issues that you want to work on healing before you bring love into your life, or if there's someone that you're in love with who has some healing to do, burning a blue candle for them, or sending them a blue gift, or writing their name in a blue pen. These could all be really useful things.
Sending them blue underwear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think of that too. You know, your color, the color associations can sometimes be very personal too. So, I mean, I think of that collective thing I always bring up is that in the United States, we have the association of green with money because our money is green, right? So we will have that association of green, but not every country has green money. And so other countries may not see green. They may see it as a growth, energy, or as like a blossoming energy or something like that, or fertility or other things that green is associated with, but they might not have the association of green with money. Of course, there's so much green money association in media and movies and things like that. I mean, I think it's at least there's awareness all over the world of that. But what I'm saying is that the colors can be very, very personal. So someone, I remember someone saying, oh, purple was morning. Purple can be morning, but also purple can be power because we have an association with it, but as a power thing, like regal purple robes that the king or the queen wears, right? So if you associate blue with love, that is your association. That's going to be stronger than anything anyone says to you. So if Tamika, you're thinking like blue is a love color, then yes, you can use that in your love spells. I think the Love Witch brought up a great point is that you can have different kinds of love spells. It's not like one size fits all. If you want more passion and excitement and chemistry and sexuality in your relationship, then a red candle may be the way to go. But if you have a relationship that's volatile, I wouldn't do a red candle for that. You want to calm that energy down. And blue is very tranquil, very placid, very healing. It feels like watery energy. Definitely feels like healing communication, the emotions, right? Because water, we think of water as the emotions. Where Tamika is going with this is that heart, emotion, water connection. And so blue is the emotions, and maybe it's softer emotions, gentler emotions. You might want pink as like a sweet, I think of pink as being very, very sweet, and you might want to use that for your love spell. This is the great thing about color magic. If you're doing a candle spell and you want to do, you want to use that blue candle, but yeah, you want a little sweetness, that little bit of romance starting, you can add a pink candle to that. Or if you want a little bit, you don't want it to be a platonic relationship, you want it to be a sexual relationship, you can add a little red candle to it. So you don't have to just be only one color. You can bring in multiple colors for your spell if you want to customize it to your intention. But I agree that blue can be that love. I mean, we're doing in the Pisces new moon, which is a water sign, right? So we're doing a blue heart candle for the Pisces new moon because it's about healing the emotions, healing the heart so that you can have a really good relationship, whether it's a relationship with yourself or a relationship with a loved one, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friend relationship or a family relationship. So it's very kind of universal, that blue color. And it's a very sweet color for calming and soothing and smoothing things over. I think, that's my thought, my take on it. Right.
Totally.
Yeah. Erica asks, where do you post your questions? In the chat. That's where you post your questions. Okay. So Priscilla gave an answer to our question about having calmness in the school situation when there's anxiety. Priscilla said, use rosemary and orange peel a lot in a baggie, and I smell it before class. That's a beautiful thing to do. So you have this association of a very warming, very healing scent for you that calms you down. Those things, there can be that aromatherapeutic quality. I think a really great, if you wanted to use an essential oil blend, never put essential oil on your skin. You add it to a carrier oil. We're going to talk about that in the oil class, by the way. But if you use that essential oil, lavender, we know that lavender has that aromatherapeutic quality of calming things. So maybe you have some fresh lavender that you can crush and squeeze or put on your skin. All right. I have a great question for the Love Witch here. Penelope wants to know, how do you both feel about what is called angel numbers? Do you give any credence to seeing certain numbers or any number often, or do you consider seeing numbers repeatedly more like an internal clock? For example, a person ends their workday at 5, but always starts packing up around 4:44. So what are your thoughts about numbers?
For starters, I think both of those things can be true. I think that we can be drawn to look at the clock at a certain time, but I think it's good to ask ourselves, why is that? And what else is there to this number? It may be that it's almost time to get off work, but it could also be a message from your spirit guides. I think numbers are one of the easiest things to spot, just like color. Numbers are everywhere, and not every number is going to be one that you notice. So the ones that you do notice and the ones that keep jumping out at you definitely have messages in them. None of these messages are bad messages, so it's never gonna hurt to look into it and see what it is. And if it's something that doesn't resonate with you, think, okay, maybe I'll look for the next number. But there really could be some great information stored in there for you. I know you have a great blog post about repeating numbers and what they mean. And I check that all the time because I'm constantly seeing different series of numbers, or, you know, checking the clock at the same time every day. And it changes up week to week. So I don't think it is just habitual and just internal clock. I think it's definitely the universe working with us to point things out.
Yeah, I mean, I think where you start to notice it with anything that you're looking for omens, we call these omens when you're looking for getting a message from the universe, right? When we're looking for these messages, the reason I can say, the reason I know that they're not just chance is because if you would see the same number consistency all the time. Like if you saw a repeating number 3 times a week, you would always see it 3 times a week if it was just chance, right? So I feel like the fact that there are these ebbs and flows where there'll be all of a sudden this time period where you're just like repeating numbers are everywhere, and then there'll be a lull, is to show you that that time period there is some message for you, or there is something for you in those numbers. So I look at, there's a couple ways, there's lots of ways you can work with repeating numbers. You can look at them and look at the numerology of the number that you're seeing. So in your example, the person who's seeing 444, 4 is a number of stability. It's also a number of abundance and work and all of those things that have that sense of stability, that give us our root chakra sense of stability, right? So you can look at it, it's like, oh, well, I'm reinforcing the success on my job every time I see that 444. Or it's a message for me about my job. Maybe it's like time to change my job and I'm thinking about it. And then I see 444, and that's the, you know, my angels and my guides saying to me, oh yes, what you're thinking about, we're there and we have help and support for you on that thing. But another way you can work with it that's very fun to work with, and it's fun with kids, this is fun with anybody really, you know, they don't have to be like a magical person, is to tell them you can make a wish every time you see those repeating numbers. And it really doesn't matter what number they see. You can also look and see what you're thinking about at that time, even if you don't look at the numerology. What was I worried about something and then I saw the repeating number, or was I happy about something and saw the repeating number? So that's another way you can work with those numbers. But I think that the answer to the question, is it something that's just random chance, or is it something that has some meaning? I have seen in my life that there's ebbs and flows. Like right now, I'm not seeing any repeating numbers, none. And I haven't seen, probably in a week or two, I haven't seen a repeating number. And I'm at a computer all day. So, except I'm looking right now and it's 5:55 where I am. So I just, so my guides are saying, you're right about that. So, you know, I look at my computer all day long and I look at the clock and I don't see anything except for today right now. But, you know, that kind of thing happens. So that is the thing that tells me that it is special. And that is probably that confirmation from my guide saying, you're right, that there is something to it. So I think, you know, and listen, really anything, you can either believe in that magic or you cannot believe in the magic. Nobody's saying you have to believe in it. No one's saying you have to believe in repeating numbers. If that's not your jam, that's fine. But if it does have significance and meaning for you, allow yourself the space to have that experience, that magical experience. You have to suspend some disbelief and you have to be able to have an imagination to do magic. Without those things, the best magicians, IMO, are the people who are creative, people who give themselves the space to have those fantasies or to have that suspension of disbelief or to believe in magic. Because if you don't believe in it, you're going to see evidence. It's law of attraction. If you don't believe in something, it's not going to come to you. But believe in it, it's going to come to you. So yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, do you want to talk about your special? I think and then I have to count up the shrimps. So okay. Let's ask one more question. Okay. All right. Helen has a question about oils. Come to my class, Helen, and I'll tell you all about it. So, okay. I'm kind of directing you over to the class. I realize I'm doing a hard sales pitch, but I'm going to talk all about oils and how to make them and how to make them so that they won't go rancid. And that's a whole class. It's a whole class. So, all right. Marina has a question that's just for you. I am also clairsentient and I have never met another. We're both clairsentient. So I'd love to ask you how you use this gift, what you love about it, and anything else that you think is special about it. I'm going to count the shrimp while you're doing that. So that's what I'm going to be doing.
This is what I was thinking of in particular earlier when I was talking about really having all elements of your life in line, is because, like, you know, when I've not been living holistically or not really been paying attention to messages from the universe, I don't have those gifts at all. That just completely goes away. But when I am really paying attention, when I'm meditating daily, when I'm working with magic, I get these overwhelming senses and like extreme first impressions all the time. And in the past, I've tried like giving things a chance that went against one of those instincts, always goes terribly. Like this is just like such a sure thing and such a sudden sense of an answer. So it's really helpful in readings, but it's also really helpful in life decisions or in giving advice to friends or strangers. There's just a lot of information that can come to you within a split second. And it can be a lot to decode, but you can just kind of pick away at the part of it that you want to start with and keep going from there is what I do.
Are you a water sign? You're Scorpio?
Yeah.
Do I remember? Yes, I remembered. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I remember things. Sometimes I don't remember anything. Water signs. I'm a Cancer. We're Scorpio. We're water sign sisters. Water signs sometimes have an easier way to access that clairsentience. That was my first clair. That was the easiest one for me. Yeah. Clairaudience came next, then clairvoyance came kicking and screaming. I had to work on it, but finally I was able to figure it out. So that idea that you have certain natural clairs that are going to be easier for you. And I think maybe water signs, because we're always thinking about emotions and we're feeling so deeply, that those feelings and those senses that we have now, we can very well, as I did for many, many years, ignore those feelings. And as you said, much to your detriment, you ignore those feelings. But when you start listening to, like I call it listening to my gut, I will sometimes even get feelings in my body. I do get very often feelings in my body about things, but you get that feeling like that doesn't feel good or nice, but you're taught you have to go along with it. And then when you start questioning that as you get older, the great thing about being a crone is you DGAF at all. You don't. And the older I get, the less I do care. I care, but what I care less about judgment. You know what I mean? Is what I'm thinking about in particular. So like my gut will say, don't do that thing. It feels icky. And if I do it, it won't work out very well. But if you go, it feels icky, I'm going to say no. The greatest gift in the world. I'm going to bestow the greatest gift in the world on all of you right now. The ability to say no with love and light. You can say no to someone and tell them, I wish your success with that thing, but I'm not the right person for it. I had to do that today. It's something that I really wanted to be involved with, but I don't have the time for it. And the person keeps saying, come on, come on, come on. And I'm just like, I don't have the time for it. And my gut was like, when you don't have the time for it, it's not that I don't agree with the thing, but it's like saying, don't you go off and do that thing. So I had to say, like, it's not for me this year, but I wish you success with your endeavor because I know it's going to be amazing. So that feels supportive, right? If someone says to you, I can't do it, but I love what you're doing and I think it's amazing, you don't feel hurt by it. So if you're a tender-hearted Cancer that has to take care of everybody, you're everybody's mama and have to take care of them, you got to learn how to say no. Some of you guys already have mastered the saying no. I mean, you already got it down, but maybe a Scorpio has it. I don't know. I sure didn't have it.
Depends on who's asking.
So this ability to say no and be able to listen to that voice inside of you and really get that listening to that voice who says, this isn't for you. That's not good for you. Or sometimes even like that person, I don't like that person, or this job is, I need to find another job, but something is, your brain inside is like, come on, you're making good money at this job, but you're like insides are not feeling good about the job. That's those discrepancies between your logical mind that's trying to convince you to not listen to your intuition. So if you ever get stuck and you want to like strengthen that voice, I always say, work with a pendulum. It's instant gratification. Anyone can use a pendulum. You don't have to memorize cards or learn something. You just ask it yes or no. And I have a video up on YouTube about that, an ancient video on that. So you can do that. Hi. And that can help build that clairsentience. But yeah. It's an interesting thing being a clairsentient. You walk into rooms and you can pick up on the energy of the room. Places, you pick up on energy.
They
right?
said they haven't met anyone else who is, but I think a lot of people are and just don't have the word for it. Or just they have that feeling, but they've never thought to ask themselves, what is that feeling? What is this ability? And saying no to stuff that doesn't honor you is saying yes to the universe that you want to live the life that's best for you.
Yeah, so
So
good.
saying no is a really good skill to have.
Oh my gosh, yes, it is. It is. And it doesn't have to be like I always just felt guilty or like I was condemning someone, and I never wanted them to feel condemned because I had to say no to them, you know? And you can learn to say it like I love what you're doing, but I'm not the right person, or I know you're going to find that other person, or whatever it is, you know? So you can say no. Um so we have 33 shrimps in the house.
Wow. 33 is a number I work with magically all the
And
time.
there is a repeating number too. All right. So what number are you going to pick?
I'll pick 22 in the spirit of repeating.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Paul Ibarra. I know Paul.
Oh,
Paul's
great.
an amazing artist. Just did a tarot deck. You mind me promoting you, Paul? I hope you don't mind. So Paul, go ahead and send a message to the panelists of your address, and then we'll just us two will be able to see it. And then the Love Witch will send you a book. Oh, this is
I'll
such a this is like a match made in heaven. That was a perfect pick because I love that two of you are artists and amazing creatives, and this is going to be fun. Okay, so you two will keep in touch, or maybe just put your you can put your email or something like that if you want to do that, Paul. Um, yay, Paul! Yay, yay! Okay, so now we have a couple of special offers. So do you want to share what your special offer is coming
Yeah.
up?
So I am doing half price 3-card written tarot card readings for Tea Party attendees. It's people who are here tonight, also people who may be watching this in the future. So if you go to TheLoveWitchNYC.com, there's a button down at the bottom that says send a tip. And that will allow you to send $15 and then just include your name and your date of birth and your location and time of birth if you have it as well. And then your one question, and I'll get back to you in less than a week. If you're seeing this years from now, I may be a little more than a week, but I'll still get back to you. You could also, if you don't want to go to my website, you could just send me on Venmo. My username is just LoveWitch on there. And just include your date of birth and your question in the note on there.
Such a beautiful gift. For $15, you guys, you can get a beautiful written reading with all kinds of information. You just have to be patient. You can't have a time sensitive question, but as long as you're able to wait a week, you can, or less, you can get that. Oh, I love that. What an amazing thing. You guys really should take advantage of that. My special thing is we're going to do again. I love doing this now, you guys. So I've got a hotline number, a text line, text hotline, text line. I don't know what to call it. You can text me, and the number is, I'm going to put it in the chat. So you're going to see it at the bottom of the chat. It's 310-510-6184. I remembered it this time, right? Did I get it right?
And I had to look it up last time. I didn't actually know off the top of my head. So.
Well, that's good that you looked at that. So it's 310-510-6184. It is text only, but it's me. I look at it. I get it. So if you want to send a text to me, if you text the word shrimp, I will send you a code that you can get 15% off a reading with me. It is a flash sale that is only going to be today and tomorrow. So you have to book your reading today or tomorrow, but you'll get 15% off a reading with me. So if you want that code, send the word shrimp to 310-510-6184. You can book your reading out whenever. I mean, it doesn't have to be you get the reading right away. You can book it out and change it. By the way, you guys, if you book a reading with me, up to 24 hours, you can change it to another day. So you can just go in there yourself. And, you know, if you're like, oh, next week, oh, I don't need it now, I'll book it out for a month from now. You can do that as long as you do it 24 hours before. So, yeah, so 310-510-6184. Also, if you have questions during the week, you can send me a question there. I can answer your question. If you've got a question that I didn't get to, you can text me that question there. I also let people know about the new moon spell service and the spells that are coming out. We just closed yesterday on our new moon spells for March, but we've got our April one coming up. That's going to be coming up at the end of March. I'll be announcing that. So if you want to know about that, you can text the words new moon to that phone number. If you want to know about workshops that are coming up or when the workshops are about to close, you can text workshops and to that number, and I'll add you to a little list. Now, the rest of it, you won't be on a list unless you ask me to be on a list. You won't be on a list. So I will send you when there's pertinent information, and yes, we can have one-on-one chats on there. So you can text me and I'll answer back. And I'll also, if you put your birthday in, I'll also wish you happy birthday on your birthday, which I had someone today who had a birthday and I wish them happy birthday on the text. So that was fun. You get a little text. So if you want to find the Love Witch, our beautiful guest, thank you so much, Love Witch, for being here. We didn't even talk about the Love Witch movie. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Oh my gosh. And the art direction of that movie is so crazy good. 70s. I kind of love that movie for the art direction. The story is just sort of, but the art direction is amazing.
I had that exact same conversation a couple of days ago.
So
beautiful movie.
I know the gifs from that movie, or that make that movie. I mean, all those gifs of that girl with her beautiful blue eyeshadow and her long hair and her pink hat, you know. But anyway, if you want to get a hold of the Love Witch, you go to TheLoveWitchNYC.com. So TheLoveWitchNYC.com, and you'll find the Love Witch NYC. So easy, right? Your name is your website. And you can book those readings, those $15 readings, and you can see a whole bunch of other stuff. And are your books on there? What else is on there besides the reading?
But you know, I update it all the time, so who knows what'll be on there next. They're not
okay.
on there currently, but maybe I'll add them. We'll see.
You have to have an email list so people can keep up with you.
Maybe
Thanks so much. Yeah, exactly. That's the next thing. All right, you guys. Well, thank you, Love Witch, for coming and being with you. You know, I adore you. You are just a bright light in this world, and you are love in this world. And I'm so thankful that we know each other and that we've met again in our next life, that we've come together again. And I'm so happy to have all of you guys here in the Spell Squad here in the room. We always have such a great time. Don't forget, next week, no live Q&A. We're having a workshop on oils that I'm guaranteeing is going to be sold out because it's already getting lots of sales. So that means by the time we get to that day, it'll probably be sold out. So get your tickets now. Go to witchcraftworkshops.com. The following week, March 14th, we're having Ambrosine Laguerre as our guest. And that's going to be an exciting and amazing thing. But you'll see I'll send you all the stuff about that as it gets closer. Have a beautiful, beautiful week, you guys. Take care. And we'll see you either at the workshops or in 2 weeks. All right. Thanks for coming, Love Witch. Bye.
Thank you so much.